Welcome back to another episode of Casey Campbell's Videocast. Of course, Casey Campbell here with Great Lakes Post. We are now joined by probably someone that's probably was busy as me today, Alex Andrejev from the Charlotte Observer, who covers NASCAR and that new MLS franchise out in Charlotte. We'll get to that in a minute, though. Hi, Alex.
Hey, Casey. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Your day was probably just as busy as mine with Xfinity Media Day and just everything going on in the last few days. But we got to talk about the big announcement first, and that's Michael Jordan's coming to NASCAR. Of course,
Right.
Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin signing on a new team and bringing Bubba Wallace on as their driver. They're going to take the Germain charter. Alex, I know you've not been covering the sport for a while, but how big was this?
I don't think it can really be overstated how massive it is for just NASCAR and the sport to have, I think, just a figure like Michael Jordan, who is so just kind of world renowned, to get into NASCAR. I mean, it's so many new eyes that are probably going to be on the sport. I think the other piece too is just, it's Denny Hamlin, it's Bubba Wallace, the combination and sort of star power at this point of those three. It seems like it's kind of early to tell, but at least at this point, it seems like this is going to be something that is really good in terms of just growing sort of the audience and diversity of the sport.
Yeah. And of course, the other announcement yesterday was Ross Chastain going to the 42. But that was kind of more expected, though. I just talked to Ross just about a couple hours ago, and he told me that this was in the works for 2 years, possibly. And of course, in the short term, this was just quickly put together from what he said. But are you surprised that Ross is going to Chip Ganassi Racing?
I don't think it's a totally shocking choice that he's filling the seat because, as you mentioned, he was for 2 years, he was sort of that development driver, and he's competed for the team before in Cup events, with Spire affiliations, I guess, this season, and then last season was doing Xfinity stuff for Chip Ganassi. So, it's a team that it seems like that organization has been building him up to this moment. I think it was just sort of a matter of when it was going to come, and it seems like it really worked out well this year in terms of having that open seat kind of unexpectedly, for this next season. I think Ross knows that he's going to have a lot of work to do to make that transition to Cup full time. But I mean, he's a guy that's run so many events. I think he said ran something like 77 in 2019 across just Xfinity, Cup, trucks. He's a guy that's going to work really hard for that team, I think.
And told me he's working on trying to get some truck starts. So it's gonna be interesting. Anything Ross Chastain is interesting, but where Kyle Larson's name is always trying to creep up there because there's so many stuff there. Where does Kyle Larson go? What happens to Matt DiBenedetto? What happens to Glenn Boyer? There's so many things, so many pieces that still have to be figured out for this season. We'll start out with the obvious with Kyle Larson. Where do you think does he come back?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say. I know as of, this past week, Larson hasn't requested reinstatement. And that's something that, NASCAR is going to have to approve of him to come back, which I think if he takes all the necessary steps, that shouldn't be the biggest issue. I think for him, the biggest issue is just going to be securing sponsorship to get back into the sport. I mean, that's what a lot of these teams are looking for is, what sponsors can you bring on to help our team run? I mean, he's obviously a very, great and tested driver. He has the ability to thrive in the Cup Series. I don't think that's the issue. I think now it's just, sponsorship.
Yeah, Matt DiBenedetto, what happens to him, you think?
I mean, he said that by the end of the month, he will hear something from Team Penske and the Wood Brothers about what his, if they're going to take that contract option for him for 2021. He definitely wants to stay there. And I think just based on how he's run in the series this season, there's certainly an argument for him to stay, and he's clearly worked well. He's also said their team has expressed interest in having a long-term relationship with him. But I don't know. I hesitate to make any predictions because, as we know, anything is possible.
Yeah, that has been the biggest thing. And, these playoffs um, have been pretty unpredictable. I think, Ryan Blaney going out in round one, you're going to Vegas this in the next few days. Uh,
Yeah, I am. It'll be new.
but just, this is by far, I think, the longest trip since COVID. We're going back to a track they're going back out to the West Coast for the first time since the pandemic began. Longest trip for them. There's not going to be any fans there. But what are we going to see out of Vegas this weekend from these Cup guys?
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit tough to say because you don't want to compare it too much to the pre-COVID run, I guess, that they had there, just because it's going to be different without the qualifying, without the practice, and sort of that same setup. But it was sort of interesting, I think, just based on kind of how the grid finished in that race. Like, you had Austin Dillon have a high finish there. Matt DiBenedetto also was racing in the top three. So you never know. Like, this could be a place where you see some of those guys again that aren't normally, those first and second place racers, like, have a solid finish. And I think this whole round of the playoffs now, especially with the road course, and then at Talladega is going to be a little bit of that unpredictability. And, Las Vegas could be that too.
Yeah, I mean, it could. And the Xfinity Series playoffs start today. Of course, you and I spent some time on the Xfinity Series Media Day. That playoff start, and it could also mean some faces that we could see. And, of course, we'll see Ross Chastain next year. Two names possibly to watch out for, those two Ford drivers, Austin Cindric and Chase Briscoe. The Xfinity Series is always, it's always been it's been interesting. It's kind of been streaky. One guy's been good, one guy hasn't. Chase has 7 wins. Austin kind of got on. Justin Allgaier got some wins.
Yeah.
What happens do you think there?
I mean, yeah, it's tough to say. Like, Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric have certainly been on a tear this year. But yeah, like it really could be the situation where you get a couple good runs, a couple good wins, and then you have this momentum, and your team hits on something right, and you can, see some of these other, Justin Haley type guys like pop in there for a couple of race wins or whatever, So again, it's been a kind of a wild season. I think what was interesting about hearing from those two was just sort of their different approach to entering the Cup Series also. Like, I think we heard, Austin Cindric seemed very much interested in sort of progressing to that next level, and Chase Briscoe was a little bit more, he wanted to make sure he could secure a solid ride there and be competitive. Rather, if he's going to be more competitive, he said he'd be, interested in staying in the Xfinity Series or something and staying in that ride and growing that way rather than, racing in a 25th, 26th place team in Cup.
Yeah, I thought that comment was interesting too. Also, Charlotte had some big news today. Looks like there's going to be fans at the Roval. I thought a few weeks ago, I didn't think we were going to have fans there. But now it looks like Governor Cooper is looking like he's going to have – there could be fans at the Roval coming up this weekend. Of course, it's not just NASCAR, the Xfinity Series and the NASCAR Cup Series that's going to be competing there. If I'm correct, I think the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship is going to be competing there as well.
Yeah, I mean, so what the track hasn't technically announced like ticket sales or anything or updates as of today and as of that news, but Governor Cooper did say they'd allow 7% of the full capacity at these outdoor stadiums, and that certainly means I know the Charlotte Motor Speedway wants to have those fans back. I know all the tracks do, so I'd expect to see fans there for that race. Which I think it'll be really exciting. I have not seen a race there at Charlotte yet with fans in attendance, and everyone tells me like how great it is and how big it is. But I think that'll be an exciting moment for the sport.
Don't forget those fans in the complexes and those apartment complexes around there too. So
yeah,
it's gonna be interesting to see fans there. But anyway, Alex Andrejev, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and have fun in Vegas, and let's do this again sometime.
Thanks, Casey. Appreciate it.